The WWE Performance Center was opened in July of 2013 with the purpose of creating the superstars of tomorrow. A state-of-the-art facility that really gave hopefuls every tool they needed. Hundreds of would-be superstars have reported to the Wrestling Factory in Orlando, but not all of them have made it. Few who sign a developmental deal will make it to NXT, and fewer still will make it to Raw or SmackDown, but the Performance Center has had its fair share of genuine success stories, shaping and molding those with little or no prior experience into the real deal. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WWE Performance Center success stories. Join us. Number 10, Omos. One of WWE's big strengths when it comes to recruiting is attracting top talent from other athletic arenas. They found Omos, for example, in the world of basketball, where he played for the University of South Florida and Morgan State. I don't know if that's impressive or not, but it's the sort of thing JR would say on commentary, so I felt like it should be known. Also, go Sooners! Anyway, Omos signed with WWE in January of 2019 and had his first match on an NXT house show that July. As part of his Being a Wrestling Giant crash course, WWE brought in fellow big lads Kevin Nash and Scott Hall to work with him at the Performance Center, the Outsiders both raving about him in interviews after. The 2020 pandemic allowed Omos to get some screen time as first the Giant Ninja in Akira Tozawa's gang, then as the doorman for the ill-fated Raw Underground. After that, he was paired up with AJ Styles as his bodyguard and then tag partner, having his official debut at WrestleMania 37, no pressure kid, where he and the Phenomenal One won the Raw Tag Team titles. With his size, youth, and apparent coachability, the sky is the limit for Omos. No, really, the sky is the limit for him. Look at him. He reaches the actual sky. Number 9, Liv Morgan. Longtime fan Liv, who used to do backyard wrestling before becoming a competitive cheerleader, spent a couple of years learning the ropes in NXT, doing a little bit of everything before she was called up to the main roster as a member of the heelish Riot Squad group, alongside Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan. After an inconsistent year and a half in the Riot Squad, Liv was drafted to SmackDown, only to be drafted back to Raw 6 months later, with some saucy vignettes hyping her re-arrival. She certainly made waves when she crashed the wedding of Bobby Lashley and Lana on the final Raw of 2019, and showed her versatility in the ensuing storyline, also featuring Rusev. Since then, it's been a bit topsy-turvy for Liv on the main roster, but she's now giving it a go as a single star on SmackDown. She has every chance of becoming a major star, if given the opportunity. Importantly, she's still noticeably improving month by month, and still on the right side of 30, and with a marketable look and a superstar presence, she should be a fixture for some time to come. Number 8, American Alpha. Following in the footsteps of noted developmental success stories Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, and Shelton Benjamin, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable were two amateur wrestling standouts that looked like they could flounder before NXT bookers did the smart thing and put them together as a modern-day version of the world's greatest tag team. American Alpha were a sensation on the black and gold brand, winning the NXT tag team titles and having some exceptional matches with, in particular, the Revival. A well-oiled unit, they deservedly got their call up to the main roster, where they had some more great matches over on SmackDown. Regrettably, the team was quietly split up for no good reason, with Jordan drafted to Raw and revealed as Kurt Angle's illegitimate son, the start of what could have been a major singles push. Sadly, Jordan suffered a career-ending injury and was forced to retire before taking a job backstage as a producer, which, by all accounts, he's very good at. Gable is still going strong on the blue brand, having overcome Shorty G and creative team apathy to settle into a role in Alpha Academy with Otis. Number 7, Alexa Bliss. Alexis Kaufman was another recruit that, while they had no pro wrestling experience to their name, had excelled in other athletic endeavors and crucially had the look and youth that WWE often craves. Active in sports from a young age, Kaufman had competed variously in kickboxing, softball, track, and gymnastics before becoming a competitive cheerleader, which inspired her early NXT look and gimmick, and participating in fitness events like the Arnold Classic. Rechristened Alexa Bliss, she did the usual little bit of everything in her early NXT days, including being one of the prospects, along with Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks, who was part of Triple H's elaborate WrestleMania 30 entrance before wrestling in the tournament for the vacant NXT Women's Championship. She found her niche when she paired up with Blake and Murphy and then moved into the women's title picture, having a series of matches with then-champion Bayley. One of the most improved and best all-round performers on WWE's books, Bliss has done pretty much everything since moving to the main roster, including partnering up with a heel demon from another dimension. Number 6, Baron Corbin. Baron Baron Corbin, King Corbin, Big Banter Corbin. Call him what you will, the former NFL prospect has been an ever-present for Vince McMahon's company since graduating from NXT to the main roster, and much of his success is down to the coaching he received at the Performance Center. After not quite making the grade in the football arena, he signed with WWE in 2012, and at close to 7 feet tall and pushing 300 pounds, was one to watch. Corbin didn't win any titles during his time in NXT, but he did noticeably get better and better, and was always involved in notable feuds. It was hardly a surprise then to see him get the call-up in 2016. His triumph in WrestleMania 32's Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, his first main roster match, signaled that WWE had high hopes and grand plans for the Lone Wolf. Since coming to the main roster though, Corbin has perhaps been a tad bit overexposed. But there is a good reason he's constantly given opportunities and featured roles on the show. It's because he's good at what he does and is easy to work with behind the scenes, two things that have ensured that he's been a US champion, Money in the Bank winner, and King of the Ring. Number 5, Enzo and Cass. Enzo and Cass's early days as a team were very stop-start due to booking and injuries, but they really got over and caught on when they were allowed more creative freedom and, crucially, time to do their shtick on the stick. Because though they were serviceable in the squared circle and could work a fine formula match, it was their promos and skits that helped them truly stand out. They may have claimed that you can't teach that, but clearly their time in the PC promo class was well spent. Dusty Rhodes, who led the classes, was a big booster of theirs and ensured that they got plenty of TV time. Their stay on the main roster had its moments, but ultimately wasn't as successful as their NXT run due to a variety of factors. Enzo and Cass, perhaps more than any other act, should have been used as examples of how the PC can nurture talent and give them the resources and guidance needed to hone their acts before going to the red or blue brand. Number 4, Charlotte Flair. It seems odd to think of now because she's been around and on top seemingly forever, but Charlotte Flair was at one point one of many female talents hoping to get one of the few spots that were up for grabs back then. Okay, so she wasn't just one of many, I mean she is Ric Flair's daughter after all, but you know. When she signed with WWE in 2012, she may have had the lineage, but didn't have any actual experience. It was up to her coaches and producers for NXT and at the Performance Center to make sure that she realized her potential. Which she did, and then some. Learning the craft as if by osmosis, Charlotte progressed rapidly and won a tournament to win the vacant NXT Women's Championship in May 2014. A little over a year later, and after a long title reign full of excellent matches, Flair was brought to the main roster as part of the Women's Evolution. It took her only a few months to win the Divas Championship, setting the tone for the record-setting months and years to follow. Number 3, Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze actually started to gain notice in NXT precursor FCW, where he wrestled as Matt Clement, his real name, Mike McGrath, and finally Mike Dalton. A former FCW heavyweight champion, Clement was mostly used in an enhancement or undercard role in the early days of NXT. Deemed to not be catching on with the audiences, he was told that in order to keep his job, he should come up with a new character. Clement then invented Tyler Breeze, a self-obsessed pretty boy model type inspired by Derek Zoolander and the iPhone generation. It was a hit and completely revitalized his flagging career, providing not just a lifeline in developmental, but also enabling him to become one of the most popular acts on the show. He inevitably got lost in the shuffle when called to the main roster, but it turned around when teaming with another talented drifter, Fandango. As the Fashion Police or Breezango, the duo were a very entertaining part of whatever show they were on. An excursion in NXT seemed to give them a renewed vigor and purpose, but they were among the many released in 2021 as part of budget cutbacks, decreasing the sexiness of the black and gold brand by about 65%. Number 2, Rusev and Lana. Rusev was initially trained by Attitude Era stars Rikishi and Gangrel at the Nox Pro Academy, working a handful of indie dates before being signed by WWE in 2011 and first reporting to FCW. His career really took off, however, when he was paired with his future wife CJ Lana Perry, a backup dancer and actress who signed in 2013 to be among the first batch of new Performance Center recruits. The act was a natural, and it wasn't too terribly long later that WWE brought them up to the main show, receiving an immediate push on the Raw brand. The Bulgarian Brute and the Ravishing Russian were a throwback done right, the sort of 1980s nostalgia that could be tweaked to work in the modern age, particularly in their rivalry with All-American hero John Cena. Though they weren't together in NXT for an age, they were clearly there long enough to work on their act and get it main roster ready. For Lana, it was a crash course in sports entertainment, while Rusev's stay in developmental gave him enough seasoning that he could hit the ground running on WWE TV. In the case of both of them, WWE's loss is someone else's gain. Number 1, Braun Strowman. A lifelong fan of the business who had been inspired by Hulkamania as a young man, Braun Strowman instead got into the world of powerlifting, becoming a professional strongman. He was signed by WWE in early 2013 and reported to the PC. The company was smart in not having him put his massive body through too much punishment, keeping him off live events while he continued training behind the scenes. He showed his face as a member of Adam Rose's Rosebud crew, but got his first proper role as the monstrous muscle of the mysterious Wyatt family. Lumbering and limited in those early days, Braun quickly caught on, and you could see him getting better and better each month. He had his breakout of sorts in the 2016 Royal Rumble match, where he was booked dominantly, and he soon outgrew the group of backwoods dwellers, emerging as a single star. Braun gained popularity and worked to improve every facet of his game, but WWE continually missed the boat on him by failing to pull the trigger at the right time. Ultimately, in 2021, they rather inexplicably released him. The Monster Among Men is both an example of how good and how bad the WWE system can be.